Welcome to everyone. This week video will cover the Bitcoin market for the week of June 9, 2025. Before we start, make sure you read carefully the disclaimer. I recorded this video on Thursday evening, June 5th. My last Bitcoin update was on April 7th. During this update, I was waiting for a confirmation of the 83,644 crossing, triggered the week before. I mentioned if we have confirmation of the crossing, then the potential downside target will be $57,932. I also mentioned, technically, the Bitcoin market should find support on his cycle line and rebound. Let's see what's happened since. As expected, the Bitcoin market rebound and resume his uptrend to a new all-time high at $112,000. The 40-week low occurred at 74,434 few weeks early than expected. The low was expected on May 12. This 40-week cycle have a length of 31 weeks. Shorter by 7 weeks of Hurst cycle nominal model, which is 38.97 weeks. Which in bull trend is very common, in bear trend the cycle have a tendency to be longer. Why the April crossing happened? It was certainly due to some kind of news. In general, news adds some volatility. That the reason when the market crosses cycle line, and this crossing is not very clear. It's better to wait for the next bar for confirmation. The 57,932 target become invalid since the crossing was not confirmed. What's next for this 40-week cycle? We can expect the next 40-week cycle low to form end of December to the first week of January 2026, the blue vertical dashed line. Technically on his way to form his next 40-week cycle. The Bitcoin market should cross below his cycle line and provide a downside target. We have to pay a special attention where this 40-week Bitcoin market cycle peak will occur. The cycle peak is scheduled for the second week of August. If the Bitcoin market form his peak before August, then we can expect a sharp correction. When are going to know if the peak has formed? When the Bitcoin market will cross below his cycle line. This will be the first sign of the peak formation. Here the cycle line for the next 2 months and their potential target, if the Bitcoin market cross below. The second sign will be when the Bitcoin market will cross below his 40-week trend line, the blue trend line. By analyzing the lower time frame, we will be able to anticipate this 40-week cycle peak. Let's see the 20-week cycle. The last 20-week cycle formed at the same time than the last 40-week cycle on April 7th. The next one is scheduled during the first 2 weeks of August, the green vertical dashed line. During the formation of this 20-week low, we can expect the Bitcoin market crossing below his cycle line, providing a downside target. Here the cycle line for the next few weeks and their potential target. If the Bitcoin market cross below his cycle line. When this 20-week low will be confirmed, I will draw the 20-week cycle trend line. This trend line will help us to identify the potential 40-week cycle peak. Indeed, when a market cross a trend line, this confirm a peak or a low of the next degree cycle has formed or in formation. This will be a very important information. By determining where the 40-week cycle peak will occur, this will help to anticipate the size of the next decline. After meeting his downside target and making his low on April 7th, on his way to his next 20-week cycle peak, the Bitcoin market crossed above his cycle line at 96,117 on the second week of May, providing a new potential upside target at 117,800. Or a potential of 21,683 or 22% potential profit. On May 22nd, the Bitcoin market made a new all-time high at $112,000. Is it the peak of this 20-week cycle? We will get part of the answer by analyzing the lower time frame. The 80-day cycle. Due to Hurst rule of synchronicity, all cycles from the 40-week to the intraday time frame formed their low on April 7th. After forming his low on April 7th, the Bitcoin market crossed above his cycle line at 83,684 on April 11th, for a potential upside target at 92,934. $9,250 or 10% of potential profit. On April 22, 11 days later the Bitcoin market meet and exceed his target. The next 80-day cycle low is expected to occur on June 12, the vertical purple dashed line. During his next low formation, the Bitcoin market should find support on his cycle line and should rebound to at least his previous high. Otherwise, if the Bitcoin market cross clearly below his cycle line, this could mean there is some bearishness coming into the Bitcoin market. And the May 22nd high can be the 20-week cycle peak. Here the cycle line for the next few weeks, and their potential target if the Bitcoin market cross below it. The 40-day cycle. After forming his 40-day low on April 7 at $74,434, the Bitcoin market rebounded on April 19. The market crossed above his cycle line at $84,200, providing an upside target at $93,966. $9,766 or 11.56% of potential profit. On April 23, the Bitcoin market meet and exceed his target. Then the first 40-day cycle after the major April 7 low, formed on May 12. Technically at that stage of the cycle analysis, the Bitcoin market supposed to form his low on his cycle line. But the market was so bullish, then he formed way above his cycle line. The next one should form on June 16, the blue vertical dashed line. On June 5, the market crossed below his cycle line at 103,367. For a potential target at 94,734. $8,633 or 35% of potential profit. The 20-day cycle. Since the major low on April 7, 2025, the Bitcoin market completed 3 cycles of 20 days. The last one was on May 31, the next one is expected for the June 17. The green vertical dashed line. We can expect the market keep moving down until that date. After that date the Bitcoin market will rebound and cross above his cycle line, providing his first potential upside target. Let's see on the following roadmap what we can expect the market will do up to the end of August. According when the next 80-day cycle low will occur, we will change accordingly the dates. Assuming the next 80-day low will occur on June 17. The market will cross above his cycle line, providing an upside target for the first 20-day cycle peak. Then the market will move down, on his way to form his first 20-day cycle low on July 5. This low should form on his cycle line. After forming his low, the Bitcoin market will move up to form his 40-day cycle peak. Then the market will cross below his cycle line, providing a downside target for this 40-day cycle low, expected to form on July 23. After forming his 40-day low, the Bitcoin market will cross back above his cycle line to form his 80-day cycle peak. Then the market will cross back below his cycle one more time, on his way to form his fourth and last 20-day cycle of this 80-day cycle. But before reaching his low the market will make a first low around the first week of August, then move upside toward his cycle line, using it as resistance, before resuming his decline to form his last 20-day cycle of this 80-day cycle, which will also be the 20-week cycle low around August 23. In conclusion, the Bitcoin market trend for the next few weeks is down. We can expect further decline during the next few weeks to at least up to the first 2 weeks of August for the next 20-week cycle low formation. For more details analysis of how the cycles works in the stock market, I recommend to visit my website, Tradingmarketcycles.com. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up to support my channel. Share it with others, and subscribe so you don't miss any important updates. This concludes this week's video. Thank you for following along. And I'll see you next week with another exciting installment.